Talks, True Talks. What's hidden out of sight, I bring into the light, right down to the bone where the truth stands alone. Tell it like it is, if it's her words or his. Speak the truth, leave the rest, cause this is the place where there's no BS. True Talks, True Talks.
True Talks, True Talks.
Welcome to True Talks. My name is Jasmine. Today we're continuing the show with my guest, Dionisia LaFay. As I've spoken of before, she's multi-talented, diverse, crosses so many different genres of her when she performs her art. But tonight, I'd like to introduce to you her, the woman, the person. She will dance, of course, with us, as I said before, later in the show, and she did bring her snake. But right now, let me share Dionisia, the woman. Welcome, Dionisia.
Thank you.
All right. My curiosity is, I know so many of us, my family, my sisters, we go through evolutions of change in our life. Is your name Dionisia your given name?
It is not birth given. It is not the name that my parents gave me. It was given to me in a goddess ritual in Glastonbury, England, 7 years ago, 8 years ago now.
What does Dionisia mean?
It is the feminine version of the Greek god Dionysus. And Dionysus was the god of wine and revelry and rituals of ecstasy and abandon.
Wonderful. Now, I wanted to ask this question later, but it really flows in with where we are. I understand you're an anointed temple dancer.
Yes.
And what does that mean?
That's a deep question. So temple dancing is an ancient form of expression to use dance as an offering to the divine. And in many ancient temples on the planet, dancers would dance to a specific god or goddess and offer their art as prayers for their community. So the community members would come and say, hey, I need a prayer for this thing or for that thing. And then the temple dancers would go into the temple and pray through their dance to the god or goddess that that temple represented. Much like the people would visit the oracles in ancient times to receive information, except that in this case it was done through dance. And there has been an uprising of temple dancers again in recent times, sort of remembering that art form and that way of praying. And it's been a beautiful and wonderful and rich part of my life for several years now.
In this process, when you first started, who anoints you?
There are temples to which you can travel and visit to be anointed and to learn and to train. My training is through the art of Middle Eastern dance, and out of that I came into the temples with that dance. And along the way I met teachers who had been using forms of Middle Eastern dance movement as prayer, and I sort of took that into my own prayer. So in my case, I'm sort of self-anointed.
Okay. Powerful.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I know I wanted to do this portion on you as a person. I've gotten to know you. It's been wonderful. In your career, I was always curious, have you always wanted to dance as a child?
Yes, absolutely. I started dance lessons when I was 6, and it was immediately a right fit for me. And I began with ballet and tap, and I was always such a rhythmic being that tap came very easily to me. And then I stayed in that dance school all the way through graduation from high school, and I traveled with my dance teacher and I worked as an assistant to her. So dance was a very big part of my life very early on. And so, yes, as a child, I always wanted to be a dancer. And as that evolved for me, I spent a lot of time, once MTV came into being, learning dance choreographies from dancers on TV. And I dreamt of dancing on Broadway.
Oh my goodness, how beautiful. As a young child, what was the first dance that you did? What was the very first piece that you performed?
Yeah,
said ballet, I
that's
remember
great.
that,
Yeah,
but
yeah, perfect. We had this. We had a performance every year in my dance school at the end of the year, and all of the classes and grades would perform. And I have this photo of myself as a child in this sort of lacy, froofy thing that's yellow, and it had a bonnet and yellow ribbons in my tap shoes. And we were sort of like Fruit Loops, I think, in a kind of way, in that our colors, everyone of the children in my class had a different color in that same scheme. So that's my first memory, actually, of a dance performance. And not long after that, in fact, it might have been that same recital, my dance teacher used to tell this story about me. That we had this little shtick that we were doing where a boy in the dance school was on stage, and I was going to be the cute little girl walking by and do this like boom chicka thing. And we were sort of playing with it. It was really cute. And I was in the wings one day while we were rehearsing on stage, and my dance teacher would tell this story that she could see me back in the wings on the other side of the stage, and my cue was coming up, and I'm messing around, and I'm like off in La La Land, and she's thinking there's no way I'm going to hit my cue, and she's going to have to come tell me. And immediately when it came time for me to come on stage, I hit it and nailed my cue, and I was 6. So, you know, it was
in you.
And that's one of my earliest memories, actually, of being on stage.
In your career, have you ever had a performance that you felt flopped?
Surely. Can I think of one right now? Let me see. Well, that's a big question, actually. If you think about what flop means, what does that mean? Does it mean I didn't get the turnout that I wanted? Does it mean that I fell on my face? Does it mean that I missed too many of my cues or dance steps? I mean, those are all kinds of things that can happen to create a flop. I mean, I've definitely produced and directed shows where I didn't get as many tickets sold as I wanted to. I don't think I've ever fallen. Oh my gosh, knock on wood somewhere. But I'm almost, thank you. I'm almost certain that's true. And I think probably what's true for me is if I think about a performance that I would consider a flop, then I would think more about, was I able to give the audience what I wanted to give them? And if I walk away from it feeling like, I could have given them more, or I wish I had gotten this piece in there because that really expressed something that I didn't quite get to them. And then I guess the last thing that I would say to that is that I have seen videos of myself dancing, like recordings of performances, where I think to myself, wow, that does not look at all how that felt to me. And so that sort of discrepancy is disturbing for me as a performer.
Well, you and I have talked. I had the chance to see you in the show, This Being Human. When we talked and I showed you the video back, you said this was one that expressed itself as you felt it. And I wanted to share with you again, it was powerful. I loved it. In all of your dancing, I have to say that for me is the most powerful. It's expressive, it's intense. I remember after the show, I saw you, and you had many people around you, but I heard the word reverberate. I used it, they used it, of this erotic passion. As I started to know you from there on, I started watching this goddess that's naturally in you, and it's just beautiful. I want to say thank you to all of my crew here. RVTV does not pay the crew. They volunteer their time, and I'm grateful for that. The space that RVT opens up for us is wonderful. Please watch my show Wednesdays at 6:30 and Sundays at 9 a.m. I am going to introduce Dionisia once again to you because she is going to dance the dance of the snake for you. Thank you.
True talks, true talks.
True talks, true talks. True talks, true talks.
True talks, true talks. What's hidden out of sight, I bring into the light, right down to the bone where the truth stands alone. Tell it like it is, if it's her words or his. Speak the truth, leave the rest, 'cause this is the place where there's no BS. True talks, true talks.